Welcome to the Relishing Dead podcast where we devour everything in the TWD universe. I'm Dawn.
I'm Eliza.
I'm Carol.
I'm Barb.
Yay. And tonight we have a fantastic guest. We're so thrilled and honored. The amazing actor Steve Coulter, otherwise known as Reg Monroe, is joining us tonight.
Yay! There he
Oh,
is.
hello. There he is.
He's traveling somewhere on the road, and he's in southern Georgia by coincidence.
I am.
Thank you
Hello.
so much for being here.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. Yes.
Well, Steve, we're just so, as we got to looking into your background.
Oh dear.
Wow.
That sounds- You're going through my trash and stuff and my mail. How thorough are you? Because that could be a
very
problem.
thorough.
Pretty thorough.
Oh,
Yeah.
We got DNA, buddy.
Wow, this is a different podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I
We
think
go
we
all
know
out.
somebody that may have actually bought his sweater from the estate sale.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
golly. That was a great sweater.
we might be able to get it back for you.
I
That
think
really
we all have
was.
something.
Well, it was funny because the premise was that Reg and Diana were very well, they were successful Washington people. And so they were well off. And so all my clothes were really nice clothes. Because everyone else, I felt bad because most people work on Walking Dead have to go out in the woods and I was like in air conditioning and heating and nice. Yeah, it was great. Alexandria was very comfortable, and I was in Alexandria before all the hijinks. So
Oh wow, there you go.
I had it pretty easy. So
You didn't have to check for ticks, huh?
I did not have to check for tickets. I did not. I had to check for a double latte.
There we go. No, you're actually Canadian born,
I am. I'm still Canadian. Yeah.
and but you were raised quite a bit in South America.
Yeah.
How did your family get down there?
My dad, he worked in the aluminum industry, and they sent him down to run a factory in Colombia, Cali, Colombia, and it was way back before there was any drug trade. So it was actually very safe. It was quite an adventure, and so I got to learn Spanish and all sorts of wonderful things.
I started studying what kind of factory in Colombia.
Yeah, and it was I was going to say it in Spanish, aluminio, an aluminum factory, aluminum producing factory. So it was great. And then I moved from there to Cleveland, which was quite a culture shock. To go, because but it was really eye opening because there were kids from all over the world. Most of my friends were Colombian, and so it gave me a good perspective on just cliques and people, and because everyone was pretty great down there, and there wasn't, it was a small school, and so it was great.
And so did you spend most of your early academic years in South America, or was it kind of
I did most, like from the end of elementary school till high school, and then I did high school in the States. And that's when I sort of got into acting. I actually got the acting bug in South America. There was a group of, I guess you'd call it a community theater of internet. There were Americans and Canadians and Swiss, and they were doing a play. And I remember seeing it, and it just swept me away. And I was a very, very, very shy kid. I was like almost pathologically shy. But when I saw this play, I was so taken with it. I went backstage after and told the director, how can I be a part of this? Which is weird. It was not like me at all. And I don't know what it was, just something about it. It really felt genuinely magical.
wow.
And I thought I want to do that. And I started doing plays and drama club. And then I got to high school. And then I decided, I could make a living. Well, at first you don't make a living like this. But I was like, But yeah, I decided to train to do it, and here I am.
Do you remember what the play was that you saw?
No, I wish I was thinking that. I think it might have been a play called 40 Carats. That seems to be. It was just a kind of a romantic comedy. But but the actors happened to be really good. I remember there were two actors in particular that they just really. I've said it often. I said it to my wife who doesn't like theater. I mean, I love movies and I love television, but if you see a really good play, it can be transcending. It can be just because I don't know what it is. It doesn't pay very well, but going to see it, and that really, and I've always tried to recapture that, I think.
Yeah.
That's true. I was reading that, you graduated from North Carolina's School of Arts or College
Yeah.
of Arts with a BFA. And then I saw that you went on to the Actors Studio in New York in
Yeah.
around 88.
Yeah.
That's got a long lineage of actors attached to it.
Yeah, it was weird because where I trained, it was a 4-year college, but there were only 12 people in my entire class. We ended up, and it's really a conservatory, so it's not like a regular college. You're just it's healthy in a way and unhealthy, I think, because you're just drilled like movement and stage combat and dialects and Shakespeare and scene study and mime and jazz dance and tap dancing and musical theory and singing. Because they were training you to be a repertory theater actor, which is kind of a British thing.
Mm-hmm.
And in the States, it was kind of poor timing because it used to be around the country. Atlanta had it. Cleveland, New York, there'd be a resident theater company and they would have a company of actors, a company of about 12 actors for the whole season. And you would play like a lead role one night and the next night you'd do a different play, playing a smaller part. And so the training for that was real. They wanted you had to look like we learned makeup and old age makeup and all this stuff. So you'd be very versatile. But by the time I graduated acting school, those kind of theaters really had stopped. They were just jobbing a theater, a job at a time. And like a theater from Cleveland, Ohio would come to New York City and audition. Like I did a lot of that. I would go out to New Hampshire or Cincinnati or Minneapolis and do just one role and then come back. So in a way, I was almost trained for an art form that didn't quite exist really anymore. But then when I was in New York, the Actors Studio had the way they do it is you do an audition, and I had grown up, being a fan of James Dean and Paul Newman, and it was the year before I left New York, and I got in. What you do is you get preliminary acceptance, and then you go for the year, and then you can audition at the end of the year to be a lifetime member. But then I went to do a play in Atlanta, so I never got to do that second thing.
Oh, wow.
But it was really still great, Trey. It's funny when you take these classes, and it's led by, Ellen Burstyn, and you're seeing the actors in the class are guys you see men and women you see in all the De Niro and Scorsese movies, but it was really great education. It was,
Wow.
What was your first television acting scene?
Oh dear God. Well, while I was in New York, what was it? There was remember how soap operas used to be so big? There used to be, several, like a dozen on TV. And one of them, it was on NBC, and it was called Another World.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think it was 1984, so it would have been like 24. And I played, what was my name? Deputy Dawson, I think. I played a guy, for some reason the show was taking place in Arizona for these few episodes. And I was this deputy. I think I weighed 140 pounds at the time. And I talk like that. I don't know why, because people in Arizona don't talk like that. But the first TV network thing I did was a movie called, I think it was called Wife, Mother,
Murderer. Mm-hmm.
With Judith Light.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I did it. It's funny because during the 90s, a lot of my first jobs, it was back when they used to do movies based on real crimes, but they'd have big TV stars play these usually murdered people. Because I remember looking at my resume and I had wife, mother, murderer, perfect murder, with murder in mind. Like almost every TV movie I did had murder in it. And I remember I'd be doing stuff like it would be, and they weren't terribly high quality. And I remember one time I was visiting my sister in Vermont, and I went to a hockey game that my nephew was playing in, and someone had seen one of these terrible TV movies, and they said, "Oh, I think I saw you on TV," and I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry that you were watching murder times murder or whatever."
Well, Dawn got me to watch that one. What was the name of that one?
The People versus Leo Frank, which suggested that to me.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's like a docudrama. It's half documentary, half and Jason's Warner Smith's in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a couple, and so Seth. That's when Seth was in that.
Seth had hair.
Yeah.
Seth had hair. He did. I forgot. Yeah, that's when I first met him.
I had to do a double take.
Yeah. He was one. And yeah, Jason was all smooth shaven and very sweet.
Was that before Walking Dead or when?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would have been about 2006 or 7, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a rough thing. It was really great, but that's a tough story. That was a true story. But I have very fond memories of that, actually.
Yeah.
You know that, we loved you as Reg Monroe, and I was reading something today, and I found out that you actually auditioned for a different role on The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I'd only auditioned once before, and it was for the role that Scott Wilson played.
Oh,
so, and I'm so glad I did not get that, mainly because I loved Scott Wilson so much. I can't imagine anyone else, and I was too young for that role. And I don't know if you ever got to talk to him or he's just what an amazing because we would do these cons, the conventions together, and I'd grown up watching him on in Cold Blood and the Gypsy Moths, and he's just not only is he a terrific actor, but he's just a good man. And he's the kind of person that looks you right in the eye and listens to you and doesn't take himself too seriously, unlike a lot of actors that tend to take themselves a little too seriously. I'm really glad I didn't get that part, that America got to see him.
So we always talk about how the show has created within the fandom a true family. How was your reception into the Walking Dead world as an actor? And also with the fans?
Yeah, it sounds corny, and I'm sure you've heard these similar things, but when I joined the show, it was the 5th season, and it was probably the peak of its popularity. It was really, really popular. And that's always scary to come into a show, because it's almost like you're the new kid in school. And sometimes I've been on shows where it is not very welcoming. It's almost like a closed clique or something. But this was anything but that. Andrew Lincoln was the first person that came up to me, and you could tell that he knew I was nervous because, first of all, it's the first time I've been on a show that I was a huge fan of. I had watched it from the very beginning, every episode.
Oh, fantastic.
And I remember in that first episode when he shot the little girl, I was like, oh, this is not your typical television show. And they had me hooked right from the beginning. So to get to be on it was just, it's like getting to play with the New York Yankees. You're like, these are, and it's funny because, before I'm getting ahead of myself, but Andrew Lincoln welcomed me, and the cast, on a lot of films and TV shows, in between setups, like, you do a couple scenes, they have to reset up and relight, and everyone goes back to their trailer. Well, these guys didn't do that. They all just stay and hang out. And it was Alexandria, so we would hang out on the steps. and everyone is just so kind and welcoming. A good example is Glenn. Uh, it was makeup in the morning, and he came in. He had a bike, and because the studio is right next to Alexandria is right next to Sonoya, right there. And he just said he was asking all the makeup and hair people who wanted some donuts because he was going to ride into town and get some donuts. And again, this is at the peak of its popularity, and he was getting a lot of attention. And they just didn't carry themselves and with any kind of air of, I think they all. What I love about the best actors I know, they're so grateful for their work, but at the end they go, we're just on a TV show. We're not saving orphans from a burning building. So no one was full of themselves and just so kind. And the same thing when I left. I was only there for like what, 4 episodes or something. And when I left, it was just like it was like leaving college. It was like saying goodbye to a family. And then the same thing with the fans. When I started going out to conventions, I'd never encountered anything like that. Just the loyalty and the kindness and the community of it. And I've been going over to England. I went to a convention there, and after I wanted to go see a little bit of London because I was, how often do you get to go to London? And I got on the train, and I didn't know where I was going, and the whole train was full of convention goers, and they kind of adopted me. And they said, "Hey, Steve, where are you going?" And they guided me around town, and I was like, I've never encountered that in 30 years of doing this. So
I know there was one time that you were scheduled for the camp, and I was super excited.
Oh,
I know you had to cancel. I'm like, no, that was my go-to.
I think I've had to cancel the camp like 3 times, and I was like, it seems to be Murphy's Law. Sometimes a sure way to get an acting job is to book the camp, particularly the camp for some reason. I apologize.
We've
okay, but maybe one day.
Yes,
Keep holding your room for you.
Yeah, that's right. And that's kind of how, just to let you know, that's how the camp is so different than most of the other fan conventions is the people who attend the camp. I mean, like what is it we say? We come for each other. You guys are just kind of like the icing on the cake. And we fix sandwiches for actors at 3 a.m. and drink with them on the back porch. And that's, but I think the probably the majority of all the cast recognize. I mean, Jeffrey Dean Morgan told me one time when I met him that, he would not be where he's at if it wasn't for the fans.
And then see, that's the thing, and that's because you guys make the show. I mean, that's otherwise we don't exist. It's like, and we have to do our job well so that we're worthy of your attention. But yeah, and especially the Walking Dead fans, because fiercely loyal. Yeah, you guys, and so I think most of the cast was really aware of that, and why there's such a high participation of, like, especially I missed the Walker Stalker conventions because then it's just all Walking Dead folks. And I really would love. I hope. I don't know if the camp people of, like, I don't know if I've been like the boy who cried wolf. I hope they invite me.
No.
Oh yeah, because I miss that community, and I'd love to. Yeah, because it did seem to be like not just about people coming to see the actors. It's more like a genuine gathering of people with common interests and things. And the actors are just kind of.
And we do private events. We do special events with the actors.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, little dinners and teas and walking tours, and I think that's just I love that.
I would love to go on a walking tour with Steve down in Alexandria.
Yeah.
Oh, I do that. Yes,
So cool.
Yes. Carol and Barb and Dawn had the moment that I think all of the fans would like to have. You guys have to share that. It was in Sonoy, which we go to Sonoy all the time. It's like our second home. Tell them about running into mother and father.
Dawn and I were walking, and I was telling her where the camp used to be because they were at Peachtree City, but I also went when it was at Jacob's Table, and I'm showing her around. I'm talking, the New Yorker. You can't shut her up. And Dawn's hitting me. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, it's Scott Gimble and Angela Kang. I'm like, what?
Wow.
So we didn't want to interrupt them because they were in a deep conversation. So we kept walking, and on the other side, over, by the gazebo, there's like 300 people because we had an event that time. And we went and got Carol because we know Carol doesn't talk to anybody, but we didn't know what to do. It was like, Carol, come. So go ahead, Carol, take over.
So they walked me around and showed me where they were walking, and they're like, okay, so we're gonna go, because I guess the studio had one of the apartments right up there that several of the actors had stayed there, so they used that apartment. Anyway, so we go walking around and we go walking past, and sure enough, there's Scott Gimple and there's Angela King, and they're standing by the back door just having a chit chat. So we keep walking and go to the corner, and Barb or Dawn, both of them said to me, I bet you won't go back and say something to him. Well,
that was a dare.
It was a dare.
Look, Steve, I'm a theater kid too, did all that kind of stuff, so I'm not usually afraid of much. So I walked back and I told them, I said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to let you know that there's about 300 people here in this town gathered and feel like your family because of what you guys have put together, and we just wanted to take a moment and say thank you. And then we said goodnight, and we left. We didn't ask for photos or anything. That's not my thing. So we just left and we went back. And the next day, Angela Kang tweeted on Twitter us for stopping and saying what we said. And then Scott Gimple shared it and commented too. So as fans and as family, we were all geeked out because Mommy said something,
Mommy,
that's what makes it worthwhile. So
yeah, and these three, they were sitting on the couch in tears, and I took a picture of them. And I put it on Twitter, and I tagged her. And then she took a picture. She was with the production team and tagged us back. And it was just like, oh, God, we got Mommy and Poppy's attention,
So when you say that we are fiercely loyal, the fact that we have you on our podcast tonight, we are fiercely loyal to you guys. And we appreciate you guys so much. And your character Reg was so loved.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yeah, I really enjoyed getting to play him, and just because of but it's funny because of his optimism. But again, because I know how the show worked as a fan.
Yeah.
Having watched for 5 years, and I was like, when I got the script, when he did the little speech, when we're in the little gazebo, and I was like, oh man, it's like I've got a bullseye on my back now.
You definitely did.
Did you get the call?
Well, yeah, but at that point I hadn't. But when I saw that speech, I was like, my days are numbered, because anytime anyone says something like, we're just going to look to the future and everything will be fine, it was like, you might as well start selling your stuff at a yard sale, because
you can't start liking a character either, because the next day they're gone.
Well, I think, and that's one of the things, and I'll get to the famous call in a minute, but that's the thing about the show. I think that was one of the greatest things is you knew no character was safe. They established that pretty, you kind of knew Rick was okay. Mm-hmm. But everyone else, they were like, we don't mess around. You don't know what's going to happen, which is really, that was a great precedent to set. But I thought, because I think originally I had heard I was going to be on the next season, or that maybe I wanted to hear that. I thought that, but I'd done about 2 episodes, and I got a message. They say, Scott wants to talk to you. And so my thought was, he wants to talk about how well it's going. and maybe talk about where the character's headed. And then I missed the call, and then they go, the next message was, Scott wants to talk to you about the finale episode. And I went, oh, man, I'm as dead as a doornail. And so when he called, it finally it took like 2 days for us with phone tag. And when he called, I picked up the phone and I saw it was Scott, and I went, I'm going to die, aren't I? And he goes, and he was like a little kid. He went, yeah, I'm so sorry, but it's going to be so cool. It's going to be so cool. It's the last scene in the last episode of the season, and it's a really, really cool death. And he was right. It was like, I had to agree. I was like, okay. And but I think I managed because they pass out scripts ahead of time, but I think they're trying to keep mine away from me. And I think I saw someone else's, so I skipped to the end of the episode, and all I saw was there's a word. It wasn't like he slashes Reg's throat, or it didn't sound like a flesh wound. It sounded like I was like, okay, there we go.
Yeah, it was terminal.
But it was great because it was an odd because I've had friends that had like sort of recurring roles, but they'd get like one little scene every 4 episodes over, and I got to have a really nice ride for just a handful of episodes, and I got to go out on a great way, and yeah, I couldn't. It was just I had so much joy and fun, and it was hard work and delightful work. And those guys were just so good. And I had known Melissa McBride, gosh, for 10, 15 years at that point. We had done acting classes together, and she was always, and I know this won't be a surprise to you, but she was always one of those actors that just has an extraordinary talent. Just has a real gift for it. Some actors, because I used to direct more, and I used to teach the classes. And you can teach some actors to be better. You can make someone who's good, really help them be. There are tools to be better. But sometimes someone walks in and you're like, oh my God! It's like someone who's a natural baseball player who just has a gift. And Melissa had that. And I remember for a while she was out of acting, and she was a casting director. And I was like, you got to get the profession needs you. But she's a very, very, very shy, private person, and she is not in it. It's so odd for someone who is not in it at all for fame. Her character was one of the most popular characters, and that especially women really identified with her, and she's just a soulful person and a soulful actor, and just also one of the nicest people you could ever meet. So actually her fame was probably agony for her. I would imagine it'd be like the last thing she wanted because she's a very private person.
We saw her at Atlanta Comic Con last year, Pandemic, and it was the end of the show. And at the other conventions I'd seen her, she had been a little bit more reserved, but she was very open, very very forthcoming, very, very sweet, very talkative. Carol broke her. Carol made her cry.
So great, good for you, Carol. Jeez, are you gonna try to make me cry?
No, I never do that to you, Steve.
We do that when we start talking about the family and what you guys done for us. So that gets them emotional and it hits their heart, because we tell everybody that.
Yeah.
So
Well, how much of Steve is Reg?
That's a really good. No one has ever asked me that. I think. Obviously those are the writer's wonderful words, but I think. Because as a younger actor, I didn't put as much of myself into it. But then because you're thinking, oh, my imagination. But then you realize it's a weird thing that the more personal you make something, I found out that it has a more universal connection. Because it's like, I just meld your memories and your thoughts with the values of the character. And I wish I was as positive as Reg is or was, which is kind of one of the fun things about an actor is you get to try on someone's skin and thoughts, and it kind of sticks with you because his view was, some people look at the world and say, what's not working, what's to be afraid of, and he didn't do that. He looked at the world and saw, which is kind of amazing considering the circumstances of that particular story. There's not much to look forward to, but he was one of those people, which I think the society needed, that saw the good and saw, well, it's terrible, but there's still hope, which is why he had to die. But so I think a lot. I just tried to connect with and it was fun because Well, this is interesting. The very first scene I shot was the whole gang. It was a party scene that they do as a welcoming party for the. And so on the outside, I'm being professional actor. I know my lines, I know my inner work, and I'm connecting. But on the inside, I'm like, that's Rick, that's Michonne, that's Carol. Oh my God, that's Glenn. That's Steve. And it's really funny because you're just like, oh my God, these are kind of, and even though I'm probably was in 50 something years old, but as a teen, when you have a show, and I know you know this feeling, when you have a show, I think Friends was a show like that, The Walking Dead, even though millions of people watch it, I think each viewer feels like this is my show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's Rick is my buddy and Michonne and that's so I sort of felt like it. So I felt like I was getting to, and that's pretty rare. There's only, I think, not that many shows that do that, where you feel like, do you feel like, I'll joke with my wife, like we're watching Resident Alien, and I'll say, let's go see how our TV friends are doing. And that's how I think it was. I think everyone thinks, I'm sure all of you thought, well, this is really my show. I mean, you feel like these are my characters. And that's how I felt there. And I was like, but I got to step in to my favorite show. And I was like, so as a fan, I'm like, I feel like a little kid. And
well, that's good to know that you fangirled a little bit.
Oh, not just a little bit. I was just like, and I was.
So you obviously finished it, right? You've watched it. Have you watched the spinoffs?
I have. I'm saving like what I've been very busy, and so I got to see the last season of The Walking Dead, and I've been saving. I haven't had any time to watch the Rick and Michonne one.
Okay.
And I started. God, my brain's not working.
Dead City.
No, so I'm way behind, but I still have my AMC Plus membership. So I'm going to be catching up because I just want to see how my character. It's not like my pals; it's the characters. I want to go, especially Rick, because Rick, I love that character so much.
We have 2 girls in the audience that love him.
Yeah, I can see that. So he's a wonderful
everybody
guy.
in the audience. We've got all these people in the audience, Steve, and they're just all saying how much they loved you, how much they love Reg. That once you're on The Walking Dead, we follow your whole career, which is true. Destiny Larimore asked if you could have played another character on the show, who would it have been and why? Now we know that you auditioned for the role of Herschel, but was there someone else?
Oh, I would have loved to be Rick. Because one of the things. Oh, I'm gonna turn sideways so I can check my battery. Okay, I'm still good. Yeah. Well, only because one of the disappointments is I think one of the reasons I got into acting is because it's so fun to play. Like when I was a kid, I was always playing pretend. I was playing war or cops, or as you're playing guns and getting shot and stuff. And I didn't get to play war on The Walking Dead. I got to die. So that was, that's the closest. And that was, that's when my first acting I ever did was in 9th grade. I did play Corn number 1 in the Thanksgiving play in 1st grade, but that was
Corn number 1.
I'm sure you've heard of that performance.
It's a pivotal role. It's a pivotal.
I think that got an award. I'm not sure.
Oh yes, I think it's still available on Laserdisc. No, I played this. We did improv, and the only thing I would act out getting killed, and so getting to do that on Walking Dead was great. But let me see. I would have loved to do Rick because he gets to do so many cool things, or to play a bad guy, like playing like a Negan. There's nothing more fun than playing a bad guy because you get to do stuff that is, if you did that stuff not on television, there are consequences, and there are no like I remember watching Jeffrey. He's just so brilliant, especially when he first appeared. It was like absolutely terrifying.
Right.
You almost watch the show like this because it
I
was like
did.
he seemed, and it's really odd, and I almost missed that level of evil because he sort of became a little more human, which was a miracle in acting and in writing that they could do that to their character. But yeah, remember how just absolute evil
Terrible.
he was. It was
Yes.
terrible. That obviously the famous episode where we lost two of our favorite characters. That was one of the most terrifying things on camera I have ever seen in my entire life. I
And
was
that's one of
just,
my favorite episodes. I can rewatch that episode
yeah,
over and over again.
So intense.
Yeah.
yes, yeah. It's God, yeah. It's still God. That's so many years ago. But my God, so
Yeah.
but yeah, would have Negan or Rick. I aim high. Yeah.
I back up a little bit here. I just want to ask a really quick question. How
Yeah.
long did it take for your final scene? Did you have to do it a
It,
couple of times?
yeah, we had like that sweater. We had about 4 or 5 of them. I think we averaged about two takes per. They had to do. It was very, very, very cold. It was about 18 degrees outside,
Wow.
and the fake blood was really cold, and they tried to heat it up. It was like, well, how are you gonna do? They had like a hair dryer heating the tube, and I was like, yeah, that's not gonna work. So it was a little bit like pouring a glass of cold water down your shirt like 4 or 6 times. But they had 2 different kinds of blood. The first thing, when he first slashes my throat, they had a tube that went up my shirt and into the prosthetic so that it would spray, because that's the kind of wound it is. It's, your jugular vein.
Right.
And then when I'm on the ground, they had this, oh my God. And that was a motorized, it had like, it sounded like a lawnmower motor. It was like, brrrr, and so it would spray. And then when I'm on the ground, we had a tube that went up my leg and also through my throat, which was more of a hand. I think they had it was a manual pump. So it'd be like a smaller, more of a slow gush. And then I had to change out of that. There's a picture of me somewhere where I'm sitting in the cast chairs, just casually talking, and I'm soaked in blood. And, but yeah, I think we probably did about total of, that whole end of that scene took most of the night. It was almost sunrise by the time we finished.
Wow.
Yeah, because then and I was lying there the whole time when I was doing the shooting of Pete. Yeah, it was funny because that was the last night of shooting for the season.
Right.
So it all wrapped up, and everyone was, and they had a couple, I think, of little pickup shots the next day. But that was for most of the cast. That was the end of the season. But yeah, it was most of the night that we shot.
Wow.
Wow.
It was very fun.
Well, I know that the ladies, Carol and Dawn, are not Rick and Michonne fans.
Oh dear.
They don't feel that chemistry between Andrew
Putting us
and
on the spot,
Denai.
Carol.
Yeah. Sure
Yeah.
did. Threw
Yeah.
right under that bus.
But
Wow.
your relationship with Tova as
Yeah.
Deanna was so
Yeah.
believable and so like kismet met. Had you guys
Yeah.
worked together in the past or known each other?
No, not at all. And because what happened when I auditioned, they said they really like you, but we got to see if you're a match for Tova. I guess they had I don't know what they did. We didn't have to audition together or anything. But I had known her for work mainly on Broadway, and I was like, I was afraid she was going to be a diva because she had played, really big one man. She played Golda Meir, and I thought, man, I bet she's a little titan. Well, she is, but she's so sweet. And I don't know if you've heard the stories of her. Like in between shots, she did push-ups, like full push-ups, not like just little wheezy little push-ups to get her energy when she'd get up. And yeah, but it was funny because I annoyed her. But I don't know if it was Reg or kind of me and Reg, because I had a habit of I'd be behind her and I would rub her shoulder like that. It was just a natural instinct because a lot of bad things are happening, so there's a lot of comforting going on. and she would go, "Stop rubbing my shoulder." But it felt like a wife and a husband.
Yeah.
And so like it kind of didn't really bother her, but it was just sort of, but we just got, sometimes you're lucky because I've been cast sometimes as someone's husband and you're like, well, there's no chemistry here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just somehow, and she's tiny.
Yeah.
You could actually hold her in your hand and feed her birdseed. No, but she's little because sometimes they had to have her, like in the first scene at the cocktail party, she was on a box because I'm like 6 feet tall and she ain't. And so
She was on a box?
Yeah.
She was on a box. Yeah, I've done several scenes with people on boxes. But if you wouldn't know, because she's such a force of nature.
Yeah.
You know, she seems bigger on film and TV, and and she's just one of the things. Working with actors who have a theater background, and that's where I come from, they just are. I mean, most actors are fairly prepared, and they're really prepared, but she was really prepared. So it's really fun when you're acting with someone like that. It's very exciting because they bring their A game and they make you better, and you hopefully make them better. And yeah, she's great. She's great.
That's awesome. It was great. Dawn, you got to
look
have
at
some
some
of
of these slides.
Yeah, let's look at some of these slides of his.
Okay.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
There's Steve.
Where's Steve?
Okay.
Oh my
So
God.
here's some of the roles.
The guy, the one, the baseball uniform.
Yeah.
That is from. Oh my God, that was a fun show. That's from Brockmire, and I played the. How can we say, maybe overly sexed baseball coach of the minor league team that Hank Azaria was
Right.
the nerd. And I had to shoot. I don't know if you've seen the episodes
I
that
have.
we
I've
did.
seen Brockmire, yes.
Yeah.
So I had to do a scene where they're giving out free dollars downtown, and my character, let's just say, he wore ladies' panties.
Ah,
Oh my God, what we do for a living. And there's a scene where they're looking for him. They're going, "Where's Coach Pom Pom?" And they go out, and they went and find me, and I'm downtown in line to get my free dollar. And I'm just wearing, but we shot that in July, in August. And I know you guys probably know what Atlanta is like in July and August. So it was about 98 degrees outside. And they had this, it was Victoria's Secret ladies' underwear, the Pom Pom. He just liked to wear that because it made him feel sexy. And so I'm wearing ladies' panties and my baseball jersey in this downtown, I forget where we were, maybe Covington. And at first I was very uncomfortable, as you might imagine, because, you're working with the crew. But all of a sudden everyone else is really hot, and I'm walking around in ladies' panties. And it was very comfortable. So I highly recommend it. Well, I don't have to recommend it to you. And you get paid for this stuff.
Right.
Yes.
So here's a couple of other roles with
Oh my gosh.
Extraction and Banshee and
Oh my
ACOC.
Oh my God, it's really fun. It makes me very grateful. I've gotten to meet and do some very fun, enjoyable. It's a weird, and I may have mentioned this earlier. The most actors I know, like I remember Andy Lincoln was like this. They're very grateful that we get to do as a job what we do.
Yeah.
I've met very few prima donnas because if you're a jerk, you don't really last too long in the business. And because basically, there's very often you'll think like, God, I'm getting paid to just play pretend. And there's a lot of work. Like I'm about to do a play and I had to memorize 3 hours worth of dialogue. And it is work. It's like I've been working since August every day, for several hours a day, learning a script and digesting it and research and stuff. So it is work.
Right.
But at the same time, there's a lot of times you feel like we're really lucky to get to, especially because I've done a lot of horror films and you're running around in fake smoke and you're like, my God, I'm a grown man and I'm just running around playing pretend. And it's
House of
so
Cards, Yellowstone. Ooh, I love Yellowstone.
Yeah.
So that was because I've gotten to work with Kevin Costner a couple times, who, by the way, is a really generous, kind man who has not forgotten what it's like to struggle as an actor.
I love that.
Yeah, he went. I'll tell you a quick story about him. I did a movie called Mr. Brooks with him, and we shot. I think I shot 2 days. I shot the first 2 days. And I was just playing the family lawyer, and most of my part ended up like getting cut out, whatever. But we had this scene the first day. We were shooting in this really nice house somewhere in Shreveport, Louisiana. And I'm playing, and even though he was not the director, he was the producer, and he's a real hands-on producer. So he was kind of directing from the side. And we had a scene that was going to be all without sound. It was like a collage of I played the lawyer who's protecting his daughter who's being interrogated. And he was just sort of throwing these directions at me off camera, saying, try this, you're thinking about that, try this, try that, try this, and do this, do that, which is really fun as an actor. It's kind of like being in batting practice and then throwing you different pitches to hit. And I love doing that. And then later, I was done for the day, but they keep you around sometimes. They weren't sure if they were going to go back. And so I'd gone like downstairs at this house, and I was just sitting. It was just in a little holding room, and I was reading the newspaper. Remember those? Remember newspapers that people used to read? Because remember, there'd always be a USA Today at your hotel back then. And I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, someone plopped down next to me, and I was like, okay, that's a little awkward. And I looked, and it's Kevin Costner. And he had gone out of his way to find me, and he goes, man, this morning, I was just throwing all sorts of curveballs at you and stuff. I just want you to know, I really appreciate that, because that wasn't in the script, but you just followed everything I asked you to do, and you surprised me. But I just wanted you to know, I really, really appreciate that. And I was like, he didn't have to do that, you know? Yeah. And he was the same on Yellowstone. I reminded him of that. And when I was first on the show, my character offers his daughter-in-law a job, which she turns down. And I said to him, you know, she doesn't have to turn it down because then I could have a storyline. And he laughed. He went, yeah, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
But then it did. They actually did. And I joked and I said, what happened? He goes, well, we changed our mind. So, but that's an example. Again, going back to people especially like even, stars, quote unquote stars. Most of them are very grateful for their good fortune and treat people. Kevin Costner is an example of someone, and Andy Lincoln is cut from that same cloth, where they don't treat anyone because they're just actors, and so they treat crew with very much, because they also realize without the crew you don't exist. Yeah. And they are, like actors get all these breaks, and you have a nice trailer, and you get free snacks, whereas the camera crew. And they are out there working, and especially on a show like The Walking Dead, when you're out there with the ticks and all that, they're working from 6 a.m. to sometimes 2 in the morning. They don't get those breaks, not like actors and those. So it's, and most actors are some younger actors who are just starting out don't appreciate the crew. And like I try to gently go, let's just say suggest that they should change their behavior if they want to have a career. So, but yeah, folks like Andy Lincoln, Kevin Costner, and a lot of people like that. Emma Stone, I haven't worked with her, but I know she's like that. I've heard just very respectful and grateful and humble, and because it's a pretty great way to make a living. I must say. So,
well, a lot of people that are fans of the show are also fans of horror, of course.
Yes,
and you have a long history of doing horror. Especially some of our favorites, like Annabelle Comes Home. So my question is, did that doll creep you out?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's weird because shooting a horror movie, like all the Conjuring ones and the Insidious, when you do it, in general, it is not scary because the tension of the script is so high that there's usually a lot of joking in between takes, because it sort of lightens the mood. Because if you're all tense with tension and then you're doing a tense scene, it'll come off as overly dramatic. And so like Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, they tend to be very self-effacing, a lot of joking. But that doll, The first time I met the doll was when we did, I forget which one it was.
The doll.
Yeah.
Annabelle.
It was in the case. But then when Annabelle came home, we shot that on the Warner Brothers lot in Los Angeles, which is so much fun because there's so much history. But I was just wandering around the soundstage, and I came upon a bin, like almost like a laundry cart, full of about 6 or 8 Annabelles. I guess they had to have different ones, and it was you could imagine that doll, just it looked like, oh my God. And it was during the middle of the day, and I was just like, how do I get that image out of my head?
There's more of them!
And it's like, and I know it's just a prop, but those movies, you've probably heard that, like on the first day of shooting, when we would do those, James Wan would always bring in a priest to bless the set.
Oh, wow.
He's like, why don't we err on the side of
Just
keeping... Yeah, because you're calling up you're playing, it gets a little creepy sometimes. Yeah, sometimes, like one time we shot, I think it was it was the Insidious 2, where we were shooting in a closed down hospital where there had been a rape murder in the basement. And we were shooting in the basement. And so that's where, like, often on a set, actors will wander off and walk around. Nobody wandered off there. We were all like, let's stay near mommy and daddy near the campfire. I'm just going to sit in these cast chairs near the camera and the lights, and I'm not wandering off into... Because it was a hospital that, and especially a building like that has so much resonant, because there's a lot of suffering and pain in hospitals. And this had been a hospital for like 50 years, and it had been closed like 10 years before. And everything was still kind of where it was, beds and... So, yeah.
Well, those were some of my favorite films, The Conjurings and The Insidious. I mean, yeah.
They're fun. Horror films are in the same... There's a little bit of an overlap, because horror fans are also very, very loyal.
Yeah.
Where was the hospital?
Yeah.
Which
sorry? I forget. It's in Los Angeles. I forget the name of it, but it was creepy as all get out.
I want to go too. So I watched this movie twice yesterday.
Oh my goodness!
What a great cast!
Yeah, I was really lucky, just because when they asked me to do it, my manager said, "Steve, it's only for a day," and I said, this is like half a dozen actors are doing I said, Gary Oldman is shooting for a day. I'll do a day with Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
And especially that day, because it's like Matt Damon and Cillian Murphy and it was, and again, another group of really kind, no one taking themselves. Cillian Murphy, he has a very distinct Irish accent. And then to play Oppenheimer, he had a very odd, distinct American, because Oppenheimer had a weird way of talking. And as soon as, in between scenes, he would just pop right out of character and be very friendly. He was very, introducing himself to me and saying goodbye. Just a bunch of really kind, professional people. Wow. It was great. Yeah, that was a real joy to be a part of that. I'm very proud to get to do that. Oh, there's Tyler.
We swing back to The Walking Dead because, and this is one of our favorite locations. This is at the gazebo in Alexandria, and we have all been there and sat there and shared a bit of melancholy with you. This scene just made absolutely everybody just fall in love with you.
Yeah.
I have such a fond memory of, and what a great guy he is. And sometimes you don't really have to act, because that was a very good question earlier about how much of yourself is in it. When you have someone like him, who's just so genuine, you don't have to pretend anything. You just talk to him and we shot that right after sunrise. So it was really kind of, and I appreciate you showing that picture, because it really brings back a very fond memory.
Yeah.
Because, and that's the fun thing about acting, because, acting, you get some attention, you do premieres and stuff, but it's the memories like that of just being, The director on that was Jennifer Lynch, who's David Lynch's sister, I think. And she would always go and rolling and have fun, action. And just reminding us that this is supposed to be a joyful job. And I thought that was really great because it's, even if it was a very serious scene. And she was like, but have fun. It's supposed to be fun. So.
Yeah.
And then that brings us to what we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
your Reg's death scene.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I
mean, there's blood everywhere.
Yes.
There was blood everywhere. That was cold. It was really cold. But fun. I was like, there are worse things to do for a living than getting paid to have fun. And,
are you sad that you didn't get to turn into a walker?
That's a funny thing. I remember because I hated to leave. Even though I loved the way I left, I hated to leave. And I remember the following year at the opening episode, you see like Reg's hand with the wedding ring. And I was like, that ain't me. I don't know. I think he's under a blanket or something. And I was like, that ain't my hand.
That ain't my hand.
I didn't get paid for that. So,
hey now, come on.
But yeah, I did. It would have been fun to be. My daughter Emma, she was a walker on the show.
Yeah.
So
she was a whisperer, right?
Whisperer.
Yeah, she was a whisperer, and she's really good. It's really fun because she's, I was afraid for her to go into the profession, and you can't do it unless you're really good or you're deluded. And she's not deluded. She's a very good actor. She's a really good director. But that was fun. The fact that she was on it years after I was on it. I was very, very proud of her. Because she's a very good, and she's funny because she had done mask work. She went to the same school I did, and they do a lot of mask work because that's an early part of acting craft, which came in very handy for the playing a whisperer. So yeah.
That's cool.
Did you get your death dinner?
Did I get my what?
Death dinner?
No, because it was about 5 o'clock in the morning. So yes, so I had death breakfast.
Death breakfast.
Yes. Well, actually, I think I have to get back on the road because I'm getting back to my family.
Okay. We do like to end our show with the James Lipton questions, and so we would like to ask you a few of those if you don't mind.
Oh, all righty.
Okay,
all right.
Carol, you want to start us?
I get to ask the first one, and I get to ask the most fun one. What's your favorite curse word?
Are you allowed to say it?
Yep.
I think it's fuck. There's so many ways to say it, like fuck. Fuck.
Yeah.
It's a verb, it's a noun, it's everything.
They cover it. Fuck. Motherfucker. Motherfucker's good too. Like mother.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a great moment in a movie with Sean Penn and Christopher Walken. I think Sean Penn shoots Christopher Walken in the arm and he goes, motherfucker. I don't know. So sorry. Anyway, yes, next question.
All right. So other than curse word, what is your favorite word?
Oh. Kind. I think kind.
All right.
Kind.
What's your least favorite word?
Wow. It's hate. Hate. Or anyone who says, I'm right.
Yeah.
Don't like it. Yeah. Or me, the word me.
Me.
Yeah. If you find yourself saying me too much, you need to look in the mirror. Or you need to stop looking in the mirror.
Stop looking in the mirror, yes.
Yeah.
Next.
What turns you on?
Oh, laughing, funny people. Like my wife is the funniest people. Is the funniest people. Suddenly, I do not speak English. My wife is the funniest. Yeah, she makes me laugh every day. Yeah, I think yeah, that's what turns me on is funny people.
Awesome.
Yeah,
What turns you off?
mean people.
Yeah.
People take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't like mean people, whether they're left or right. Don't be mean. Life's way too short to be mean.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it
And
really
we
turns me
always
on.
usually add our last one. I'm going to add it. I'm going to put it towards your likes. So if you had a dinner at your house and you can
Yes.
invite 3 baseball players,
Oh,
Oh, there
yes.
you go.
dead or alive,
Yes. Lou Gehrig.
okay,
Um, maybe Mickey Mantle. Gosh, what a great question. I'd have like 10 guys over. But definitely Lou Gehrig. Um, oh, this is really dating me. Well, it's 1939, Dizzy Dean
okay,
from the St. Louis Cardinals because he's so funny. And maybe Mark Fidrich of the Detroit Tigers. Remember him, the bird?
Yeah.
He
Hmm.
was crazy.
okay,
That's 4.
okay.
Oh wow, that's good. Or Greg Maddux of the Atlanta Braves, Tom Glavine. Uh,
That's a
I
big
could
word.
keep on going. I could, yeah. Oh, that's a great question.
I love
You,
baseball. I'm from New York, so
oh, that's what my very first game was in the old Yankee Stadium. I was 8 years old. It was in June of 1968, so I got to see Mickey Mantle play in his last season
Wow.
at a twilight doubleheader, which they don't do twilight doubleheaders anymore. Yeah, I grew up a Yankee fan because I grew up before I went to South America. We were about an hour outside of New York City.
okay.
So, oh, you're from New York? Yeah.
Long Island, but yeah.
Oh, Long Island, yeah. When I worked as a bouncer at a bar in the village, I had to kick out a lot of people from Long Island because they come in on Friday nights and get really drunk, and I'd have to kick them out.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
All right, Dawn.
What's your favorite sound?
Oh, boy, oh boy. I love my daughter's laugh, and I love my wife's laugh. They get very distinct laughs. I really like that. And farts are always great. There's nothing, as my wife said, farts are always funny. There's just,
Yes.
I don't care what, 20 years ago, 100 years ago, farts are funny. It's just like, they're the great equalizer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your least favorite sound?
Oh. Uh, um, well, see, in my house in Atlanta, we're about 100 yards away from a train crossing, and that's probably I'm not. Well, I like the distant sound of a train crossing, or the sound of somebody whining. Yeah,
Yes.
that's it. Whining, boy, I don't like whining. Yeah.
And then I add one. If you had a birthday party and you could invite 3 musicians, who would you invite?
Oh, Tom Waits,
Oh.
Clifford Brown, who's a famous jazz trumpeter. Boy, Bruce Springsteen. Okay.
Go.
Yeah.
And then to end it off, what profession other than your own would you like to try?
I'm a professional baseball player. I would do
There you go.
anything.
What
Or
profession?
rock band. Or
Oh,
lead singer
I
in a
can
rock
see you
band.
doing. I can see you being a lead
Yeah.
singer. I know you played guitar.
Yeah, and I sang, and I think I would trade that for anything. Oh boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
what profession would you not want to try?
Oh, I cannot work in an office. Anything, I can't. There's nothing against people working. I know most people who work in offices can't imagine being an actor and all that uncertainty. I worked for an office for 1 month when I lived in New York in I think it was like 1983, and I couldn't breathe. I literally, I was like, just genetically for some reason, it's not nothing against being in an office. I just couldn't breathe. I thought I can't. They offered me a job. This was '83 from the start at like $30,000. I was just doing phone stuff for them, some publisher, and they said we can offer you a job starting at $30,000, and I was like, nope, thank you. I couldn't. Well, part of it because all anyone talked about, they were looking forward to their time off. No one liked their job. And it might be different if I was in an office of people that really love their work, but everyone, they were just like talking about the weekend, and they couldn't wait to leave. And I was like, man, I don't want a job where I dread going in every day.
Right.
So yeah, that would probably be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then your last question before we send you down the road again: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh. If I've done my job, he'll say, thank you for helping the world.
Aw.
I hope you made people feel, thank you for making people feel less alone. That's
I love that.
that's what I hope.
I love that.
And hopefully he's got my dog Lucy, who died about 5 years ago. Hopefully
yeah.
Lucy's
Oh yeah, all dogs go to heaven. All dogs go to heaven.
Yes.
Well, Steve, it's been more than a pleasure. More
Yes.
than a pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. You guys are. I'm not. What I tell people sometimes. I'm 64, so I don't say stuff I don't mean. This has been really delightful. You guys, you ask wonderful questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, it made me have to use my brain. So, yes,
We
which
hope
is good.
we hope to see you in the future at a convention
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, I hope maybe I'll make it to the camp the next time.
Yes, well,
Don't
put your-
promise anything, and then you'll actually get there.
All
yeah,
right.
there you go.
All
But just show up and have a drink at the
Okay.
back porch.
Well, that'll do that. There we go. So,
Please be safe on your continued journey,
thank you. Thank you.
and
Prayers are with your
you are,
family.
you are welcome to come back anytime you want.
I'd love to. I'd love to.
Thank you
And take
so
care, all of you. Be kind. And there's a friend of mine that says his parting thing is always drive fast and take risks
much.
and be kind. So
There you go.
yes.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Much love to you. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.
Wow.
He was like
Yeah.
the sweetest.
Oh,
Yes,
you
I
can
hope
tell
everybody
the acting really broke that shyness.
Yeah.
Yes. Why do we always get like teary eyed?
Oh, here we go.
Him.
He was wonderful. Yes. Hopefully we can actually get him to the camp. Like you said, Carol, maybe if he just doesn't say he's coming and he'll just come. He'll just come.
A bunch of people, you know what? We're just coming to hang out with you girls.
Yeah.
Just come and have a drink.
Come and have a drink.
Let's
That's
book
right.
the whole entire back patio so that anybody shows up, they can show up. How's that?
That's it. Yes, he was fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Such a
yeah,
pleasure.
look at here.
Whew.
He was such a pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay, we'd like to thank our Patreons and financial supporters of our show: Destiny Larmar, Terry and Kay Collier, Sandy Morrison, Tracy Killen Stokes, Ben and Melissa Gilbert, Pamela Blythe, Marion Craig, Jason Cohn, Wesley and Sarah Hale. I didn't miss anybody there, did I? Okay. Randy Nickel,
Brandon Cade.
Brandon Cade, Randy
Mhm.
Nickel, Jasmine Mullins, Edward and Denai Ponce Krupa, Melissa Patterson, Casey and Katrina Flory, Jason Hill, and Dustin Baker. And a very special thank you to Oscar and Casey.
Yeah, we know it's small, so we got your back.
Yeah.
I know, it's
Yeah.
like, and plus I'm crying, so that doesn't I can see.
Oh,
And then you can find us on our Facebook group page where we play our games and give away monthly prizes and prizes to the Patreon, and our Facebook podcast page. So there's two different ones. And Eliza fixed that so it's easier to find. Thank you, Eliza. We have a Twitter account, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify.
And why do people want to become Patreons, Dawn?
Because we give back to the TWD community, because we love you all.
Yes. And we have some exciting little prizes that are coming up for Barb's trivia stuff when we start doing the trivia, or next time we do trivia. We've got some fun little things for the camp. So that's going to be cool. Who's ready for the camp? How many days we got?
Too many.
45.
45 days?
45.
Yep.
Ooh, I got to hit that purchase button on my Amazon account.
Yeah, absolutely. And IVIPs, be sure to go check your email tonight.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, what?
Is it group photo?
Yeah, who do we have next week? Oh.
Sunday.
Sunday night. Who do we have, Dawn?
That's you, Eliza. You got this guest.
So I know Sunday night is not our normal night, and this is going to be at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, because they are filming bright and early Monday morning. We are very fortunate and excited. We're going to have Michael Satrazemis.
Woo!
Whoa. I mean, if you want to know the insides of Walking Dead, he started off as a camera operator, became director of photography, became a co-executive producer, an executive producer, and a director. And Mikey, the cast all call him Mikey, he will be joining us Sunday night.
We're going to get all the down low.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
And then Monday night, we're excited because we got Lou Temple, correct?
That's right. We've got Lou. Lou said it's tax day. Let's have fun.
There you go.
It sounds like Lou.
Well, we all should make mustaches.
Well, fake mustaches. Yes. I think we should do that. Yes. And if you guys have never met Lou, he was at the camp, last year or the year before? Last year. And he is absolutely animated and he's wonderful. So you guys are going to really enjoy him. And if you don't know who Lou Temple is, Lou played Axel in the prison episodes.
He was our trivia partner.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Him and Nick.
Yeah.
So we got Sunday and Monday.
That's right. So we're really excited about that. So be sure to tune in Sunday night. Michael Satrazemis is going to be a whole nother level off the charts.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
Mwah.
Right. Thank you guys for being with us.
Yes, and we'll see you Sunday.
Bye.
Night.
Stay on, girls.